Hey everyone, Jeff here. Today I've got a vinyl update to do. It's been a little while since I've had a chance to touch base with everyone on YouTube, but thanks for watching and I hope you'll dig this. If you're a fan of progressive rock, there will definitely be a lot here that'll be up your alley. But the first thing I want to show is what we've got in the background, and that is Back to the Front by Entombed AD. And this is the comeback album from the Swedish death metal band Entombed. They are one of the classic bands. Albums like Clandestine, Left Hand Path, Morning Star, Wolverine Blues. You know, these guys have really put out some classic material. And this newest record of theirs is really, really good. They had to go by the name Entombed AD for legal reasons, I believe. But in any case, really, really excellent record here on Century Media. And if you're a fan of Swedish death metal, this is definitely worth your time. So with that out of the way, we've got a lot of prog stuff to show, and the first of those will be A Tab in the Ocean by Nectar. This is one of their most classic albums, and I'm pretty sure I received this as a Christmas gift from my mother. So really, really cool stuff here. And if you're into sort of spacey, a little bit of symphonic progressive rock, maybe with influences from Pink Floyd and Yes, this would be up your alley. So really, really cool stuff. I also have Romance 76 by Peter Baumann, and Peter Baumann was a member of the pioneering progressive electronic group Tangerine Dream, and this record sounds very much like something that Tangerine Dream would have done around this time. Very spacey, very ambient, and definitely a cool listen. Not one of the best Tangerine Dream related albums, but really nice, and it's on the classic Virgin label. So for $5, this is the sort of thing that I just can't pass up, and it's definitely a good listen and worth picking up if you can find it out in the wild. So a couple more prog records here that I want to show. First one here is World Record by Vandergraaf Generator. These guys are a classic progressive rock group from England, and this is a really great record. You'll notice here I paid $5 for it, which is awesome, and this was a radio promo. So, you know, the cover's worn, it has, you know, the demonstration not for sale, all that sort of stuff, but the record plays really nicely, and it does say promotion copy not for sale. So not a white label, but definitely very cool to get this, and I'm a really big fan of what Vandergraaf Generator did in the 70s, and this is definitely one of their best albums in my opinion. So very, very nice to get a copy of this. I also picked up this 12-inch single of Uninvited Guest by Marillion, and this is one of the singles from either the Season's End or Holidays in Eden album. I don't remember at the moment, but in any case, one of the earlier singles with Steve Hogarth as the singer, and really, really decent song. Certainly not the best from Season's End or Holidays in Eden, but definitely a cool track. And it does come, I forget the name of the song, but it comes on the B-side with a track called The Bell in the Sea, and that was not released on an album. So, you know, for me, as a big fan of Marillion, definitely something cool to get, and I'm pretty sure this was only a couple of dollars at a record store. So, very nice to add this to my Marillion collection. And while I'm talking about Marillion, I also picked up the Thieving Magpie La Gazzaladra. And this is a double live LP, really great artwork that, you know, contains elements from the Misplaced Childhood, Script for a Jester's Tear, you know, all their early stuff. And this really is a very nice collection of live tunes from the Fish era of Marillion, so the first 4 albums. Very good live record, but I will say it's worth getting the CD version instead of the vinyl version. And that's not something I'd usually say, but the CD contains an entire live performance of Misplaced Childhood. This only contains the first half. So a little bit disappointing, but due to the limitations of the format, they just didn't have enough room to put the second half of Misplaced Childhood on here. But in any case, a very good live album. And if you're a fan of Merlin, you probably already have this, but really good stuff. Let's see, I'll get all the prog stuff out of the way first because there's quite a bit of that. Nova, Wings of Love. These guys were like a British and Italian group, and I paid $7 for it, so nothing outrageous. And the music is it's so. It's kind of progressive rock, a little bit of fusion, and a lot of kind of pop hooks in there. So it has moments where it's really good and has moments where it's cheesy as hell. So it's kind of up and down. But if you're a collector of progressive rock, this might be something worth checking out. So Wings of Love by Nova. Another one here is Pierre Morlin's Gong Espresso 2. Picked this up just because I'm a big fan of Gong, and also Alan Holdsworth guests on guitar here, and fantastic player, really good musician, and as a whole, this album is very good. It's not one of the best Gong albums in my opinion. I think Downwind is a little bit better. I think Gazoos is a little bit better, but still, a very good album. And if you're a fan of fusion and progressive rock, this will definitely be something that you will enjoy hearing. Also got a copy of No Pussyfooting by Robert Fripp and Brian Eno. This is one of those records that's a little bit tough for me because a lot of folks really dig this. For me, it's kind of half and half. It has its moments, but it's very spacey and ambient, and I can't help but feel like it feels like two guys that were sort of just noodling in the studio and didn't have a whole lot of focus. And a little bit of an unpopular opinion, I'm sure, because a lot of people really love this record. But for me, there are a lot of electronic albums by groups like Tangerine Dream, Boards of Canada, Klaus Schultz that I'll put on way before this. But in any case, still a decent record. And if you're a fan of King Crimson and Brian Eno, this is cool to have in the collection for that alone. So, No Pussyfooting. Let's see, I'll get all the prog out of the way. Moody Blues, Caught Live +5. Pretty easy to find this one. I've only paid $1 or $2 for it. Decent live album, nothing really spectacular, and then it has 5 studio tracks that were previously unreleased. So cool to get this. I'm a fan of the Moody Blues, and it's not an essential release, but definitely cool to listen to. So Caught Live +5. Let's see. One more prog-related thing here. This isn't necessarily a progressive rock album, but the backing band here went on to be Camel, and that is, I Think I'll Write a Song by Philip Goodhand Tate. And what caught my eye about this, first of all, is that it's a white label promo, so I'll show that real quick. On Bell Records, I believe. Yeah, or DJM, which I guess was a subsidiary of Bell, but in any case, promo copy, and the lineup here is essentially the band Camel before they went on to be Camel. So Andy Latimer on guitars, Doug Ferguson on bass, and Andy Ward on drums. So that really grabbed my attention. This, for what it is, it's a decent singer-songwriter record from the early 70s or late 60s, but nothing really spectacular. It's a decent listen, but not much more than that in my opinion. But worth getting if you're a fan of Camel, just because it shows the early history of the band. So very nice to get a copy of that. And that concludes the prog side of this update. I do have a lot of jazz in here as well, so I'll show those real quick. First one I'm going to show is Waterfalls by John Clemmer. This is on, I believe it's on the ABC Impulse label. It might just be on ABC, but in any case, very good record, very cool artwork, and I really just dig this style of jazz with a bit of fusion that was popular around this time. And yeah, this is on the ABC Impulse label. So, nothing that I'm going to revisit a ton, but certainly a good listen. And if you're a fan of more psychedelic almost jazz, this should be up your alley. Dave Liebman, Lookout Farm on ECM. Dave Liebman is fantastic. I love the ECM label, and this is one of the more classic records on ECM for sure. So very, very happy to get this, and if you happen to see this in the wild and you don't have it, I would highly recommend this if you're into jazz. Also, Fat Albert Rotunda by Herbie Hancock. This is one I got actually a long time ago at a flea market for $2, but just didn't have a chance to get around to it. But this is very, very good stuff. It's actually quite fusiony and you know, very more accessible than his other fusion albums, I would say. Much more accessible than some of the classic ones. But really nice record, and it's on the Warner Brothers label. So I always keep an eye out for Herbie Hancock. Really, the only period of his career that I find disappointing is the 80s, where he, in my opinion, went a little bit overboard with some of the electronics and just sounded gimmicky, in my opinion. But other than that, he's really had a very, very solid career and put out a ton of great albums. And this usually gets overlooked, but definitely worth a listen. McCoy Tyner, Dimensions, another one where people don't usually talk about this record when they're talking about McCoy Tyner, but this is really, really great, actually. And it has John Blake on violin, who isn't a musician that a lot of folks talk about, but he played with Grover Washington back in the day as well. But a couple of his solo things are just phenomenal, and no one really knows that. But in any case, great lineup, really good jazz album. Nothing earth-shattering or too groundbreaking, but very, very solid. If you're into McCoy Tyner, this is worth a listen. And I believe one more jazz record here I got, and that is Black Market by Weather Report. I would go as far as to say that this is a masterpiece. Just one of the best fusion albums ever, in my opinion. The musicianship is off the charts. The songwriting is fantastic. The solos are fantastic. And it's really just a fantastic listen, in my opinion. Chester Thompson on drums. As a drummer, he's just one of those guys that, you know, really makes me feel inadequate as a drummer. But in any case, great, great record. And if you're into fusion, this is one of the best Weather Report albums, in my opinion. And then I got a little hodgepodge of things to show here at the end. First one here, Transformer by Lou Reed. Classic record, but just not really for me. He's one of those guys that I just don't get the hype. This is an okay album, but I really don't think it's much more than that. So, another unpopular opinion, but anyway, still cool to add to the collection just because it is such a classic album in the eyes of most people. But anyway, Transformer by Lou Reed. The Eternal Idol by Black Sabbath. This is not a Black Sabbath record that most people would usually talk about, but it's very, very good. Tony Martin is a great singer, in my opinion, you know, with a similar style that Ronnie James Dio had rather than Ozzy Osbourne. But very, very decent album and some very good riffs. So if you see this, I would actually recommend picking it up. It's a very, very solid album. So The Eternal Idol. Got another one here, Caverna Magica by Andreas Vollenweider. This is, you know, typical of his work, very, you know, ambient, kind of spacey stuff, but not too inaccessible. I really actually enjoy what he does, and this is a pretty good record. So if you see this out in the wild like I did, you know, for $1 or $2, definitely worth your time. And the last record here I have to show is actually one of the highlights of this video, in my opinion, and that is All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. This is the triple LP box on Apple Records, and I found this for $2 at a flea market. It was just, you know, all of the records were $2, and this counted as one of them. So I paid $2 for this really, really classic record, and all three are in great shape. They play fantastic, and the apple here is like a reddish orange. But anyway, I was just totally stoked to find this, and this is often looked at as George Harrison's defining work outside of the Beatles, and I would have to agree. It's a really, really strong album, and definitely a very good listen. So, All Things Must Pass. And that concludes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I'll catch you all next time.